The American dream has become a big dollar deal for most homeowners.
Let's say $300,000 for the sake of simple math. At 6% commission, 3 and 3, would be $18,000.
Correct. It's real money.
Realtors have told me and will say, it's always been negotiable. Everybody knows that.
Yeah, it hasn't.
This week, one homeowner who went to court and forced a massive sea change in how we all pay for real estate.
In rural Maine, remote landscapes are giving rise to what some call a national security threat.
These grow houses have been linked to transnational Chinese gangs.
A shadowy network of Chinese nationals are growing black market marijuana in a network of illegal operations.
What does that indicate to you?
That there's something larger going on. There's multiple people and it's $1 million business.
El Salvador, once known as murder capital of the world, but after cracking down on crime, the new president had a new idea.
The president called me up. He said, we are going to build Surf City.
A beach that became a new part of an economic and image initiative.
Welcome to Full Measure. I'm Sharyl Attkisson. Today we begin with an important sea change that's taken place in America's $136 trillion real estate market. It stands to impact nearly everyone buying or selling a home. It's all due to a game-changing lawsuit homeowners filed against the National Association of Realtors, challenging how realtors get paid. As a result, realtors now face new rules designed for consumer benefit, but the overhauled system and the fallout are still being sorted out.
This is my barbecue. Great party pool. You can play volleyball.
The best part of Craig Randolph's house is the backyard. Or maybe it's the tricked out garage.
32 Ford with my Harley matching Harley.
Either way, he's hoping it attracts top dollar. Like millions of Americans each year, he's turning to a professional realtor to guide him through selling his home and buying another for a price.
Okay.
We're going to sell both my mother-in-law's house and our house, and we're going to get into a bigger house.
When it comes to how realtors are paid, a landmark lawsuit has upended the industry in ways you may not have heard about, but they affect nearly every home buyer and seller. Jared Bright helped spark this real estate revolution. He joined a class action lawsuit challenging the long-standing structure of the entire U.S. real estate system.
When I sold my home in St. Louis, which was a huge part of this case, I just remember saying, why am I paying someone who I've never met before 3%? No one from the buyer's side ever did anything for me. I was confused. It's the first time I sold a home. And I really wondered, where's the fairness in paying 3% and 3%?
Historically, people selling their home typically paid about 3% of the sales price to their realtor and another 3% to the buyer's realtor.
What's wrong with the 3 perceived non-negotiable fees that go to realtors if people have been happy with that all these years?
Yeah, I think people haven't been happy about that. It's one of those things where it's painful, but you have to do it. That's the way it is. That's the way it's always been done.
The lawsuit claims sellers having to pay the buyer's realtor led to cozy deals between the supposedly competing agents, prioritizing their own shared profits over clients. The lawsuit also took on murky contracts and hidden fees. Bright, a police officer when he sold his house, was promised a 0.5% law enforcement discount by his realtor, but long after closing, he discovered that was never put in the contract.
Do you have any idea what the average price of a house is today? A few $100,000?
I think it's around $350,000.
So let's say $300,000 for the sake of simple math. At 6% commission, 3 and 3, would be $18,000?
Correct.
So when you're talking about paying a 0.5% more than you thought, That can be thousands of dollars.
It's real money. On a public servant salary at the time, you know, it was a lot of money. And that is what drew kind of my attention to why am I paying this, or what am I paying for?
The National Association of Realtors and major companies that realtors work under were found guilty of antitrust violations and settled for $500 million. After the Department of Justice, or DOJ, weighed in, the Realtors Group agreed to overhaul its rules, making realtors pay more competitive. They must now usually disclose compensation up front in writing, clearly stating it's negotiable.
What has changed in the real estate industry as a result of the lawsuit?
So now, because of the competition and the negotiation, there's some upfront paperwork that you're agreeing to a certain price, a certain commission. And that's our opportunity to negotiate these commissions. And that's where you have to have an upfront conversation with your real estate agent and say, what are you giving me?
Bright says today, with tools like Zillow, many buyers and sellers do their own legwork and don't need full realtor services, opening the door to new pricing models.
Look, I think if you're a young real estate agent today and you want to say, I want to sell as many homes as I can in 1 year, then you have to look at, okay, for 1%, I only have to talk to this person one time at the beginning and one time at the end. If 2% says I need to show them 5 homes that aren't on Zillow that they find and send to me, then that's what I'm going to do.
After the landmark lawsuit, Arizona has emerged as a test market for innovative commission models, such as hourly rates for realtors or flat fee services.
Cindy Reddy heads up the Arizona Association of Realtors.
Are you taking a position as to whether the changes are better or worse for the industry, in your view?
What I'm seeing is that it's different. So it's broken down now in the contract, which is not a bad thing. However, it is still confusing. It's confusing to the agents as well as confusing to the clients. And so the piece of the puzzle is for us all to just understand it's a change. I don't believe it's good or bad. I just believe that we are figuring out how to make it work for all our clients.
Can you summarize what the lawsuit claimed was wrong with the business?
I don't know if I can exactly summarize it, but what I'm going to tell you from my perspective is the DOJ just felt that we needed to be, everything needed to be above board, which it always has been, and they've said that, you know, the commissions were set and not negotiable, and I've been doing this for 23 years, and they've always been negotiable.
Realtors have told me and will say, it's always been negotiable. Everybody knows that.
Yeah. It hasn't. It's one of those things where it might have been kind of this sense of we're okay if we say, you know, it was always negotiable. But I think 99% of homeowners out there roughly have never had the opportunity to negotiate that.
The National Association of Realtors declined our interview request, but according to one analysis, since the lawsuit settled late last year, average total realtor commissions have dropped from 5.64% to 4.96%, saving consumers nearly $3,000 on a typical home.
What would you like to think is the takeaway from people if they're hearing there have been changes in the industry that maybe they don't fully understand? What would you like them to know?
Well, number one, they should hire a realtor that really understands the market that they're buying and selling in, because that's where the benefit comes in of having a professional help you with the process and also help you with the confusion of what's happening.
And this is a 4-bedroom, 3.5 bath, and I think this might...
As Craig Randolph checks out what could be his next home,
That's a walk-in closet.
Walk-in closet.
Yeah.
he's operating in a world of negotiable fees and different rules.
There have been some changes forced that some in the industry, some realtors think are bad. Some consumers argue they're good, but what are your thoughts about the process?
Honestly, all you have to do is find the right realtor and ask all the questions. They will be able to answer all of it.
This is the bonus, 3-car garage.
This is beautiful, Stacy. Thanks for showing me this house.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Before the lawsuit, U.S. real estate fees tended to run a total of 5 to 6% of the price of a house. That's significantly higher than the 1 to 3% in other countries. Coming up next on Full Measure, wait until you hear who is behind this illegal marijuana. In the quiet farmlands of Maine, a shadowy invasion is taking root. Illegal marijuana operations churning out black market cannabis. But these aren't your typical backyard pot farms. They're sophisticated setups allegedly run by transnational criminal networks with deep ties to China. Mackenzie Frost reports.
In Maine, you expect to find rugged beaches, rural pastures, and remote roads, not rows and rows of marijuana grown illegally by Chinese citizens on a rented farm. Yet that's exactly what Machias Police Lieutenant Tim Mace discovered while executing a search warrant in late 2023. A shadowy network of Chinese nationals growing black market marijuana that local police and even the Drug Enforcement Administration believe are connected to organized crime, human trafficking, money laundering, possibly even tied directly to the Chinese Communist Party. That's where Republican Senator Susan Collins of Maine sees a national security issue.
These grow houses have been linked to transnational Chinese gangs. They are operating illegally. It is likely part of an elaborate money laundering scheme, and it may be linked to the fentanyl trade as well.
It's legal to grow small amounts of marijuana in Maine, but police say this operation far exceeded the limits and without required permits.
We had received actually in that summer prior to a bunch of complaints about illegal grow. Our initial reaction was it's legal, marijuana's been legalized, so we don't really care a whole lot. But then we started looking into it and fielding complaints from other growers who are like, we have to pay these taxes, these startup fees. It's not fair that these people are doing it illegally. So we're like, okay, fair enough. So we started to dig into it, realized the scope of it, that it was this really large appearing grow, 3 big buildings.
And what did you find when you went inside the building?
There was about 2,600 plants themselves in various states of growth, and we recovered a bunch of marijuana packaged and some that was drying.
What about the people?
There were 3 males there. They had Asian IDs. They said came to Maine to eat lobster. Some denied they even knew the grow was there.
Those 3 males, Ming Li, holding a Chinese passport with a U.S. visa, Pang Yufang, a Malaysian passport, and Dong Young Li, a Chinese citizen with a driver's license issued in New York. All 3 were arrested, charged with 2 counts of felony drug trafficking.
It looks like someone was posting for farmers to come to Maine and grow. It was very vague.
Lieutenant May says the property was a family farm for generations.
And then in 2020, an Asian male bought it, and then from a year and a half, it exchanged hands 3 times, almost 3 or 4 months apart. We dug into the power bills. There was about 6 different names on the power bills in that time frame. So it really seemed there were a lot of co-conspirators involved in this.
What does that indicate to you?
That there's something larger going on, that there's multiple people, and it's $1 million business.
What happened in Machias wasn't an isolated incident. In fact, federal officials now say more than 270 suspected illegal marijuana growing operations, all believed to be connected to Chinese citizens, have been identified in Maine alone. Beyond Maine, since 2023, Chinese suspects have been arrested in dozens of similar busts in Oklahoma. Federal authorities report that illegal marijuana farms tied to Chinese criminal networks have been uncovered in as many as 20 states. Senator Collins pressed the issue at a recent hearing.
Has the FBI developed a strategy and dedicated resources toward combating these illegal marijuana grows that are tied to transnational criminal organizations in China?
What we've done since I've taken the seat as the director of the FBI is reprioritize assets to push out into the field. We have numerous new investigations open on just these matters alone, but the field is telling me what you're telling me. We need more folks out there. I'm trying to put them out there as fast as I can.
Do you believe that the Chinese government knows that this operation is happening in the United States and that they are sending these people here to do this?
I do. I cannot prove that, but given how invasive the Chinese government is when it comes to controlling the lives of its citizens, it's very difficult for me to believe that the Chinese government does not know that these illegal growing operations are operating in the United States.
Where we're so remote, law enforcement is scattered. It's easier for people to come here and kind of hide out.
Lieutenant May says the suspects may have chosen Machias for the illegal operation in part because the police department only has a handful of full-time officers covering 14 square miles. Do you think that they knew that you guys were a four-man department?
Yeah, I'm sure they did. I'm sure they did some kind of reconnaissance to know where to be or where to put it.
Do you think that other towns, maybe not in Maine, but in other rural states that have small departments like that, should they be concerned that they might be next?
Yeah, I mean, I would be. This seems like it's more and more becoming a national issue. As marijuana becomes legalized, they keep popping up in all those states that do. So yeah, I would be very worried.
So interesting. What happened to the 3 men who were arrested?
So all of the major charges were dropped against that Chinese national who had the New York driver's license.
Okay.
Instead, he pleaded guilty to some minor marijuana possession charges, and he was sentenced to 90 days in jail plus a $400 fine.
Why?
We don't really know. We don't have any word from law enforcement or court officials about why those major charges were dropped. Now, the Malaysian individual, he is currently out on bail waiting a trial, and that third individual, he vanished, and an active warrant is out for his arrest right now.
Wow. Very interesting. Thanks so much,
Thanks.
Mackenzie. And ahead on Full Measure, a tourist hotspot in an unlikely part of the world. Here on Full Measure, we've been tracking El Salvador's stunning transformation from a gang-ridden, violence-plagued nation to the safest country in the Western Hemisphere. But we noticed another theme emerging on our visit to the Central American country, something unheard of just a few years back. It's rapidly becoming a must-visit tourist destination. El Salvador's top tourism draw is its 190 miles of coastline and 74 top surfing spots. First discovered by this Pittsburgh woman during America's COVID shutdown.
I'm 65, but I learned how to surf at 61-year-old when I first came here.
What's the short version of how you discovered El Salvador?
My daughter was dating a surfer in Long Island during the COVID, and he was from New York too, but to get away from New York during the COVID, they came here and border closed and they stayed here. And at first I thought they was dangerous, but then she was sending me all this beautiful picture. So as soon as when the border opened, I came here and I fell in love with this place and been back many times since then.
El Salvador tourism has tripled from 1.4 million visitors in 2018 to an estimated 4.2 million this year, a record number that puts it on the map as one of the fastest growing destinations on the globe. The strategy driven by Tourism Minister Morena Valdez. She was appointed to the post by President Nayib Bukele because of her unique credentials.
The president called me up. He said, "You're a surfer?" I said, "Yes." He said, "And you live at the beach?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "That's what I need." He said, "We are going to build Surf City, and I need someone to build that with me. We need to stand out for something, and I need someone who understands why a surfer would come to El Salvador and how we're going to position El Salvador as a new destination, just like Hawaii, where they focused on their lifestyle."
Valdez executed the president's plan to brand El Salvador for its surf, officially dubbing a popular beach Surf City.
Now it routinely attracts professional surfers and world-class competitions.
Welcome to the 2025 Surf City, El Salvador ISA World Longboard Championship.
Do you know how many of your visitors or what proportion of them are Americans?
Yes, our main market is the United States. It's approximately 40 to 41%. At least it was in 2025 so far.
Valdez says the corner was turned when El Salvador finally got a grip on its rampant crime, transformed through President Bukele's reforms into one of the safest countries in the world.
I live in Surf City, where I used to surf, and I saw that there weren't many tourists there. And now you can see tourists from all over the world, all different nationalities, surfing these waves and doing so very safely. That's when you can really see, all right, it's changed. We've turned the corner. You see tourists everywhere. You see them at the beach. You see them on the bus. You see them downtown.
What's your name?
They include this first-time visitor we met from Los Angeles.
Tell me what brings you here.
The perfect waves and the warm weather. People are real friendly. It's easy to get around.
What are you going to tell your friends?
I'm going to keep it a secret. No, it's amazing here. I love it.
Last year, tourism was the #3 industry in El Salvador, generating $3.7 billion. Interestingly, #1 industry driving the economy there is remittances, which refers to El Salvadorans outside of that country sending money back home, most of it from the U.S. After a break, the latest big corporation to sign on to MAHA. An update to our reporting on the dangers of artificial food dyes. Walmart, the nation's largest retailer, has announced plans to remove synthetic dyes and 30 other ingredients from its store food brands. The danger of artificial dyes has been known for decades, and the FDA did order them removed from cosmetics long ago, but not in food. In April, Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., put a public target on processed foods and chemicals.
We're going to get rid of the dyes, and then one by one, we're going to get rid of every ingredient and additive in food that we can legally address.
Kraft, Heinz, Nestle, and Conagra are pledging to eliminate synthetic dyes in the coming years. Coming up next week on Full Measure, there's long been a narrative that illegal U.S. guns are fueling Mexican cartel violence. But what if that's not the real story?
I've been pounding this drum for, almost 16 years now. I've brought this up to every supervisor I've had with ATF since 2009.
A former ATF agent flips the script, exposing where the guns involved in Mexico's gang wars are really coming from, next week on Full Measure. Thanks for watching. See you next week. I'm Sharyl Attkisson.